頭に広がるのでな未来出しない Impossible anyway 永遠にこのままおるから実もやば僕らは Everyday 輝いてもうそう膨らむもっともっと手伸ばして好きなこと追いかけたいのにどうやら私は残りを見るのとヤボリス That big smile eye 可愛いは正義かっこいいも可愛いは正義じゃ自分の中の理想にとらわれてはこの前にハンドルさくなくて I watch night in the sky I so fly 泣いてないで飛べない天使にも羽はついて跳ね切り落としてこの足でいつか飛び出して私でも前に進む
Hello everybody, welcome back to Hello. Do you know, actually, I've just realised we've been doing so much editing and there's so much going on in this last week or so that I made a few alterations to the, I've removed a couple of things from my hard drive to make extra space for all the editing. And I actually found that in doing so, I'd removed a lot of the elements I needed for doing the live stream accidentally. So I've been rushing around making sure I had everything I needed to do this. So I was like, when I press the play, does the intro music start? So anyway, here we are. We got a few things to talk about. Hello to Jeff. Hello, Hot Jeff. Hello to Toyota. Hello and welcome. Yeah, it's going to be a good one today. Smash like. Yes, indeed. A few things to discuss, a few things going on. As you can see from the thumbnail, we're going to be obviously talking about Band-Maid. They've had a couple of big announcements. One of them, there isn't a huge amount we can say that I haven't already said in my video. That's the hiatus, but I still think that's a positive thing. But that's mainly conjecture about what's going to be involved in that. The other one, of course, is talking about the tour. Again, I don't want to get too much into conjecture, but I'm really interested to know about how many of you guys are going, what you think, because I've seen so much feedback. There's you always get this when like Band-Maid or any band books a tour, there's always some people going, well, you know, they're not really as popular as you think overseas, and then there's some people that are like, they're booked too few spaces, and then there's all kinds of these comments. So it's going to be interesting to know what people think. I am still a great believer that the way that a lot of these, not always, but I think a lot of these bands approach these things is they, especially if they haven't been to a certain part of the world for a seriously long period of time, what they do is they book venues that are a little bit on the small side just to play it safe, because at very least it means they can sell out the venues, you know, completely max out the venues, which if nothing else means they can come home saying we had a sold out tour. Even if they don't really make much money from it, it still has a good look to it and it helps them next time they want to book another one. But the other aspect is, of course, there's room to then, if you want to, you can say, oh, we sold out our tour early, so we booked these extra dates. The only thing is looking at the tour dates that Band-Maid have got, really the only space either appears to be before or after, because those 5 dates in Europe are super quick. So I'm wondering whether we're going to maybe get another tour date in London, because the venues they've picked all seem to be about 1,000-person venues from everything I've got speaking to people. And of course, the O2 Academy in Islington is it's not a great venue, I'll be honest. It's not a bad venue. If it was your opportunity to see Band-Maid, I'd go for it just because you'd be so close, it'd be so cool and like an intimate venue, but it's not like what I'd describe as the greatest venue. So I'm really intrigued to see whether they book more dates than that. And that's kind of what I'm getting a feeling from you guys, is seeing whether you think that they've deliberately underestimated it and they're going to add extra dates or not. Another thing that's really interesting, I don't have independent information on this, but I was told by a couple of people in the comments that the gigs they're doing in Germany are exactly the same time as the Rock AM Festival, which as far as I'm aware is the biggest rock festival in Germany. And I think it's also at the same time as maybe Download Festival in the UK, like a really big festival in the UK. And so they're not going to be able to do those festivals seemingly because they're exactly the same time they're doing their own shows. But I don't know for certain if that's true, so let me know if you know more about that. And I wonder if maybe that is a good time to do those things anyway, because maybe the venues are cheaper around that time, because, you know, and you know, I don't know, do you think that they'll get a lot of residual fans coming and going from the festivals who will also go to see their show as well, or do you think they're doing it deliberately so they only get their diehard fans, and by filtering out just generic rock fans who just are looking for a gig and only getting their own fans, because all the generic rock fans will be at the festival, do you think that's a good way in which they can monitor? Maybe it's their way of testing the water and seeing how many fans they really do have who'll come out for them. There's all these kind of interesting questions. It's all kind of conjecture, but I'd love to know, as I haven't even been to Europe, in fact, I haven't been out of Asia in over a decade, it would be really lovely to know what you guys think on those topics. A little bit of conjecture, so let's not get too confident in ourselves, but hey, let's have an interesting discussion about what we think, and looking forward to that. Also, we're going to be talking about the new Hanabie album today, which I got to be honest, I've always had an appreciation for Hanabie. It's a group who I really would say, if you were to write on paper what they are, it probably wouldn't be the first thing that would appeal to me, because there's a lot of scream vocals, a lot of things that maybe I don't edge towards. But I've always been a great fan of how they construct their songs, the charmingly sort of fun way they go about things, the way that each of their songs is truly individual, the different genres and sounds they mash up to create this Harajuku core sound, the bright way they present themselves, all of these fun aspects. And on top of that, they're prolific in both songwriting, putting out material, and also being on the road, touring all over the place. So I was especially there for, I'm one of those people, even if Hanabie is not always my sound 100%, I always just love what they do. And when they do have songs that really work for me, I do genuinely love them. But I was really impressed by this most recent release, which I think it had some of their heaviness really in there. You know, songs like Iconic really gets very heavy at the end. Spicy Queen is about as heavy as anything else they got in their catalogue. But it also took some really fun deviations and showed what else they could do. I was disappointed when Girls Talk didn't appear on the last mini album, but now I know why it's been, well, we knew why it wasn't on that one, but now we know that it's been put on this mini album and how well it fits in with the flow of things. For me, that just was an absolute pleasure. It's an album that I think has got lots of changes in tempo, style. It's got songs that are raw and dirty, songs that are high production and clean. It's got heaviness, it's got light, it makes every single second count. It's very short, but I thought it was absolutely excellent. So again, really interested to know what you guys think about that. What other topics are we discussing today? What other things we're going to discuss today as well? I thought hopefully to get into a little bit talking just about the live house scene as a general. There's some really cool things happening in the live house scene at the moment. But I put out a thing on Twitter recently, and this is another hot topic. This is one in which maybe we've already talked about this quite a lot, maybe even too much. But I put out a mini essay, very very short, but you know it's like a long letter and an extremely short essay, which was and I put it out both in English and Japanese, giving my thoughts on why I think we all have to accept and we all have to acknowledge that we live in a world where AI is the future of entertainment for most people. But we have to, and I've done videos about this on many of my channels anyway, so you guys already know my opinions. But more specifically, what I'm talking about here is not AI as the future of technology. What I'm talking about is that, yes, it is the future of technology, but that doesn't mean it has to be allowed into everything. And my feeling that protecting songwriting in live houses, we need to steer away from this idea that a live house is just a place to dance around while some people play instruments. That is a big part of it. But what it really is a place where people share their art. And us dancing around and interacting is not just us having a good time, it's us reciprocating and showing that we enjoy the art that people have created. And it's not enough just to play the music, you have to have brought something, you have to have artistically designed what your group is. And you get different things, but I've talked again. I don't want to get too much into saying things I've already said, but just for the sake of anyone who hasn't watched my previous videos about this, I've talked about obviously how I know there are such things as songwriters who, or groups who have independent songwriters, but are still a human being who becomes part of your team, whether it be for one song or not, and they bounce off of you. They work out who you are, they work out the song, and it's an art form that they help you generate. But yeah, I think if you allow AI to write songs that come out in live houses, I don't care about mainstream slop. If you allow AI to write the songs in our live houses which are nothing more than proving grounds for the beautifully unique entertainment that Japan produces, if you allow the songwriting to be AI, then as far as I'm concerned, shut it all down. I just, get the computer to play the guitars. Who gives a damn? It doesn't mean anything anymore. And so, yeah, I'm honestly a great believer in that. I did a little essay talking about the reasons why I feel that that's something very important, and that just because the songwriter is not the person, well, not technically speaking, you're not there to watch someone write a song. The performance is all downstream of the songwriting, and the live house culture is different from mainstream music. It is different from other forms of entertainment. It's where you go because you love the creativity of music, not just I put on some tunes, I like these tunes. It's where you go because you care about something more culturally And I don't want to be that person who adds a degree of snobbery and sort of takes us away from the fact that music is ultimately just a source of a form of entertainment. But it's a form of entertainment where, I mean, why is Japanese music so special? You could name a whole bunch of things, but almost all of them are down to cultural reasons, down to the way that Japan has assimilated all of these various contemporary musical elements, genres, and the character and personality of how Japan deals with art as a general, education, the live house scene, maybe a little bit of a surplus income, but also the attitude towards taking a chance on upcoming groups, the niche culture in which being part of a niche is almost the norm. It's almost everyone you meet in Japan has some niche interest they're into. So being in a niche, even if none of the niches is, with exception to maybe manga, even if none of the niches is something that most people are into, being in a niche is the norm. So that kind of thing allows there to be the thriving of things like live house culture. But as far as I'm concerned, when you go to the live houses, it is a place where it's you are there to connect with the artistic creation of a artist. And that is more than just playing the songs. Playing the songs is the final step. That's what they do. You are there to see the final step in the journey, but you are there to see it because of what it took to get there. These are some points I wanted to bring up and just have a little mention about those. So a big thank you to everyone for jumping in. Big thank you to all the people who are already in there. So thank you. I can see Hot Jeff says, I hope to go to London. They played some venue in 2017, so they know the size. Oh yeah, of course. Sorry, we were talking about in regards to the Band-Maid tour. But I've said this prior. When it comes to, so I think you mean they know the size of the venue. That's true. I mean, that's something you can look up just by googling it, even if you've never been there. The problem is more the. I mean, there was someone in the comments who rather charmingly said. And I think they knew when they typed this what I was going to reply, but still, they said, "Oh well, I saw them in 2019 at a venue with about 1,000 capacity, and it seemed to be about right then." And I think they were talking about America in that case. But I did point out to them, it's like you cannot in any way compare 2019 Band-Maid to 2026 Band-Maid. Now, whether Band-Maid were still extremely popular in the niche as back then as they are now. It's just the niche has grown. Thus, its main proponents, its most famous bands, have grown likewise in line with the size of the Japanese music fandom and niche. I mean, I keep on going back to the one example I make is when I was at the 10th anniversary show, which was in 2023. At that point, because I got into Band-Maid, as I keep saying, January of 2019, you know this. Because of that, I had effectively been a fan of Band-Maid for 4, maybe 5 years. Now, I would normally describe that if you've been a fan of a band for 4 or 5 years. You've been a fan for a while, but it's not like you're some lifelong person who's been a fan of them forever or anything. Like, it's not like you followed every step of their journey. But the funny thing is that when I was at the 10th anniversary show, I was talking to so many overseas people, and every single one of them, I asked that question. Well, at first, I didn't really think about it, but after I asked one, I started asking everyone, when did you get into Band-Maid? And not a single one of them said anything before 2020. So many was like 20, most of them I think was 2020, 2021, the whole COVID era. A lot of them was like, oh, last year or this year or something. I got into them earlier this year and now my favorite band, this kind of thing, which is really, I love that. It's really charming. But it was interesting to find out that as far as the non-Japanese face people there, it seemed that I'm sure there were some people more, but of everyone I spoke to, it seemed that I was the longest standing, oldest fan. And that really made me think, if I got into them in 2019 and I couldn't find anyone who was as much as older a fan as I was, admittedly anecdotal, but still, I'm sure it wasn't a total coincidence that I were only finding people who were more recent fans than me. If that's the case, then yeah, the venues that Band-Maid were playing in 2019 is not a good way of judging what venues they'll need to play in 2026. Michael says, hey, this to Jeff, sorry. I have thoughts on it, says Toyota. Thoughts are welcome. Live house scene in Japan or Korea, Howard? I'm not really sure what the question is there. Let me know what the question is, dude. It's possible they mightn't play the same venues on the European leg as in 2019. Well, I mean, they've already, as per my video, they've already said which venues they're playing, so we know what venues they're playing. I don't know if they are the same ones as the 2019 leg. If I'm honest with you, I didn't go back and double check that. I guess it is rather interesting, but I just kind of assumed it wouldn't be like the exact same venues. If it is, though, that's interesting. Hot Jeff says July 2019 is when I heard Band-Maid. You're getting close to me, bud. You're getting close to me. It's weird. I mean, like I said, I don't consider myself like a Band-Maid OG or something. I'm obviously, Band-Maid are definitely a different band now from when they were when I first got into them, and you can see they've grown up. They've grown older as people. You can see like changes in their music since 2019. What fans would talk about back in like the spring of 2019 compared to what fans are talking about in the spring of 2026 is wildly different. I mean, the whole conversation around the band, the whole narratives, the whole perspectives, what people think and say about the band has wildly changed because it's a long period of time. I mean. But at the same time, I just don't feel like it's been that long. It doesn't feel that long. So, yeah, it's really interesting, that one to me. There is room for them to add more dates, says Jerome, especially at the end of the European leg. Well, this is what I said at the beginning of the stream, is I assume that's true. I mean, even if they've booked to fly back the night after, which I highly doubt, but even if they had booked, they could, if they suddenly realised, look, we sold out a bunch, it would cost less for them to change their flights and then just like book extra venues. That would be a profitable thing for them to do. So I'm sure that even if they have already booked flights to come back soon after, that they've done that. And as I say, I think it's normal practice that these tours are booked a little bit on the modest side so they can sell out and then triumphantly say, all right, we sold out in 1 week, so now we're going to book a bunch of extra venues. Whoa, big announcement, because it breeds that feeling of success. And it also, when you book those extra nights, nights, it's going to build up the excitement because people are going to be like, wow, when you tell your friends about it, people are going to be like, oh, wow, they sold out their tour? They're booking another night. Oh, it's going to be something pretty decent, rather than just, oh, this is some band I like from overseas who've turned up. It's going to be easier to sell your fans in it. Like, oh, yeah, they sold out so quickly that they've had to book a whole nother event. And then your friends, your maybe I'll come along friends are going to be much more interested to check out this band you like, because it's going to kind of have that tacit seal of approval that, oh, this is a sellout band, even if I've never heard of them and they come from the other side of the world. So I do think that's a large possibility there. So I think so. Let's see how the vote's going at the moment. I've got 10 votes, and of those 10 votes, 4 of you think they'll probably have to book more. 6 of them will say we'll stick what they have. To be honest, if I was to lean towards one, I think there's a possibility that they're probably. I mean, why wouldn't you? If you sell out, which I personally believe they will. Why wouldn't you? It depends how quickly you sell out. If you sell out slowly, then you might not. Although the O2 Islington's so small that just booking another night there. But if they sell out in the space of a week, and considering I think they will, if they sell out that quickly, then yeah, why not? Why not just book another one? I mean, as I say, even if you have to change your flights, it's worth it. Because even the O2 Islington, even if you sell that out, it's between 800 and 1,000 capacity, depending on how it's laid out, apparently, according to what I've read. And that sounds about right from my experience of being there. If anything, actually, I'd probably argue it feels a bit smaller than that. But if you sell out that venue, and you sell it out a second night, especially considering UK ticket price, well, the ticket prices probably aren't super cheap anyway. 800 people paying whatever that fee will be, that is easily going to pay for everyone's flights home. Easily. With all your equipment, the whole lot, you're fine. You're fine. So yeah, I think it's that way. By the way, my comment appears to have biased that one person who's voted. Thank you. So let's have a look here. So Hot Jeff says, just a thought, but if it's Live Nation, they have specific venues they use, so maybe Band-Maid didn't have much to say in it. I did hear someone talk about this. I don't know. Again, I used to work so much with the live music scene in London. I don't, Live Nation was not a big thing in London when I left, but I've heard about how much of an issue it's been in the West as general, so I don't know if it's maybe caught on or if there's even another company doing a similar business model. But I know there are some things like the O2 venues, of which the O2 Islington is one of them, they are, they're owned by a large company who owns, everything, including the freaking Millennium Dome. They own like a lot of the venues in London, and just generally around the UK, I think. So I don't think it's impossible to assume that they are already dealing with a venue, but maybe has a similar sort of thing. That could be a good sign. I mean, they maybe are doing the O2 because of the fact that if it does sell out quickly, they might get an upgrade, or they might get given like a second night, because the event organisers might go, all right, we've got a bigger venue, you're selling out, we're going to give you a night here. That could well be the reason why they're going through that company. Someone actually told me, I think it's one of the dates in Germany. Again, I don't know this, I'm just doing this off of what I was told, but I take it in good faith, that one of the venues they're playing in Germany apparently is basically right on the side of its larger sister venue. So you got like the small venue right on the side of a larger sister venue, and they were sort of hypothesizing to me the possibility that maybe Band-Maid will get upgraded to that venue, or I don't think there'll be like an upgrade, because I think if you've paid to go to an 800 capacity venue and then suddenly you get told, well, actually now they're playing in a 5,000 capacity venue, you could kind of argue, well, I was paying for the close intimate experience and now it's changed. So I suspect if you book for a venue, that's the venue you'll get, but it doesn't mean that you couldn't get a extra night or a second night or a night in a bigger venue afterwards. So yeah, I think that's interesting. Again, this is all hypothesizing, but it's just kind of interesting to see what you guys think. As I mentioned, despite working with gigs back in London back in the day, it's been over a decade since I left Europe, so I'm a little bit out of touch with all of that. So I'm really interested to see what you guys say on this topic. So any thoughts on the new Hanabie album? Greatly appreciated as well. I mean, I said my piece at the beginning, but that's one that I definitely thought was really awesome. Really enjoyed that. Thought there was a lot going on there. Definitely from a creative perspective, it certainly went into directions that were not unexpected for Hanabie, but then what would be unexpected for Hanabie? They kind of do everything anyway, but it took us in a direction where we got to see a serious amount of variation from them. And I think that range of colours that was on the palette of that album, the range of things they did from heavy to light to raw to techno, to fast to slow. We even had some songs like Tokimeki About You, which had really noticeable tempo shifting within it. I felt like it was an album that kind of took us through everything, and so I genuinely thought it was probably one of their most coloured and varied albums that they've had so far. I guess in a way it was a shame it didn't have something like Gary Go Every Day on there, but I think if you just, if you ignore what's not on the album and just think about what is on the album, and you ignore when those songs individually came out, but just see it as the self-produced entity that they wanted it to be, again, obviously with Girls Talk being delayed so that it could appear on this album, I think that it's one of those ones where you have to listen to it and say, for whatever reason it was crafted, whatever was put on and whatever was left off, if you just look at it as a set of 5 songs, and it's a really rounded and interesting piece of output that showcases like so many sides of the group in such a concise, entertaining, high energy way. As Jeff says, Hanabie, chef's kiss, it's iconic. Yeah, that was a hard joke to miss out. It's funny, we recorded an Is to the East episode talking about both the Nemophilia and the Hanabie short album that both came out within very close proximity of each other, and these are both heavy bands and they're both like 5-track albums, but they couldn't be more different. And we were talking about that aspect, and I won't spoil too much of it, but I do remember we were talking about how iconic was the opening track, but I think that the closing track, in a strange way, probably will be very iconic in future, because I can imagine that becoming a fan favourite at gigs. They bring out the theme of Hanabie En-chan and just start blasting that, especially if they make a gigantic mascot. So I have seen the picture now. I believe Hanabie En-chan is the drawing of the nose with 2 legs. I don't know if that's confirmed, but if that's the truth, I can just imagine them playing gigs, and at every gig a big mascot of a nose with 2 legs comes out and they start playing that song, and it just becomes like a fan favourite. So you could have this album both beginning and ending with iconic tracks. Echo says, my Hanabie thoughts as a diehard fan, I'm disappointed that it's more of a collection of singles released over the last couple of years. This really needed to be a full album. I do see that, and this is why I say I want to sort of remove that aspect of where the songs came from. And it was kind of difficult, because when we did our Ears to the East episode about this, immediately Neon went into that angle, and actually Benedict did as well, and I kind of said that I feel that. But to be honest, like, complaining about that these days is almost like complaining about like songs being streamed. It's like that's just the world we live in now. That's the way these things are created. And if anything, I've got to be honest, actually, the thing that I appreciate about this most of all is the fact that there are some bands, including my dearly beloved Trident, who do have a little bit of a habit of just like collecting whatever was released in a period, slapping it together and making an album out of it. Now, they did do some curation with Ducks, which made it work. They left off some songs that people actually liked just to make the album more consistent. And there are those kind of things. But I think that Hanabie, for me, went the extra step. Because, as I say, like, Girls Talk was delayed, and that song was from a different cycle. And the fact they put it on here didn't feel to me like, oh, we have to collect singles together. It felt like an actual conscious creative decision to say, no, this is the song that this album works on. It feels like it was a song that came out when they made it, but in actuality, they took a true album writing perspective to it and said, look, it doesn't belong on the next record we're releasing, but the record after that we feel it'll belong on. So for me, that's curating the tracks in that way demonstrates to me that there is a genuine feeling behind all of this, that they're really putting together the music in a way that actually creates the best possible albums. And yeah, that isn't necessary. Again, that's not the way that we traditionally think about how an album's created, but in a funny way, I mean, you can't say that. I mean, sometimes you hear about people like if you think about old school traditional albums, and they would usually be written, and the fact that you'd get maybe one, maybe two singles come out before the album was actually released. It would be a case of very often you'd hear like behind the scenes interviews, and they go, well, actually, this track number 8, I actually wrote that 6 years ago, but just never found a project for it. And in a weird way, I feel that's kind of what Hanabie have done here, except for the minute they recorded it, they were like, well, the minute they wrote it, they were like, well, we might as well record this. Oh, it's good. We might as well do a music video for this. It's just that they took their song and they entirely completed the conception and the invention and the production and the promotion of the song prior to it having an album to go on to. So if anything, is it a case of them delaying it too long and putting it on an album which is too late, or is it a case of the fact that they were actually just too eager and too generous by giving us the release too early? So you could look at that from both angles. So it says, but the content itself was great. Yeah, there was pretty much one song. It was pretty much one new song, which is kind of crazy. Yeah, that one new song was awesome. But again, I think look, I'm someone who's always said I love that memory. You think about that memory of back in the day. It doesn't really happen so much for these reasons anymore. But back in the day, you'd get like a new album. You'd find an album that was coming out. Maybe you've heard one single. Maybe you've heard 2 singles. It's a full-length album. It's like 12 tracks. You get it home. You put it on, and that's that feeling. You just like you set aside an hour. It's like I'm having like an hour or an hour and a half, whatever it is. I'm just going to listen to this album, and you put it on. You press play, and like you're just taking it in. Like every track, you're excited. Oh, what's the next one going to be? What's the next one going to be? I don't remember that feeling as much as everyone else does, but. In a lot of ways, as much as I miss that, I am also actually quite a strong proponent of the modern mini album concept. I do think in the world we live in, it is good for things to come out regularly. And if you feel like you can make a mini album, like a 5 or 6 track thing that does play like an album, it has enough variation in there to actually be an album. It has a strong concept. It plays from cover to cover well. Then I'm kind of okay with that. And like I say, it's a way of keeping the album concept, which is too much of a slow lumbering thing that in our modern era is not going to work for bands who have to stay constantly ahead of the competition, the ever-increasing amount of competition that there is in the world. And with social media and the lack of need for record companies to be noticed, every band has more competition, so they have to put out more quickly. They have to keep on top of your attention. I think the mini album is a great way of doing that. But of course, the mini album in itself, even if you release one single ahead of time, you've spoiled 20% of the album. If you release 2 singles, that's almost half the album already gone. And of course, if you're curating it from your recent releases, as Hanabie have, it's a very good chance that you're going to have released more than half of the album in advance. So it's just kind of unfortunate. 1 equals, oh dear, kind of scenario. But yeah, I totally get what you're saying with that. Hot Jeff says Hanabie have been too busy to go in the studio. They have been non-stop touring the world since 2023 and still done an album load of singles. I see that, but I don't think Hanabie are that kind of band. Hear me out on this, because I think if you were talking about a band like maybe Nemophila, I'd maybe agree, because I think they're kind of the band that writes more as a band, where it's the sort of thing they sit in a studio and they bounce things backwards and forwards. That kind of band, yes. Although that kind of band can sometimes write on the road anyway, because they can just sit around with their instruments, and then just any time they can stop by a city that has like a practice room or a studio, they can just nip in and just like spend an evening recording a demo or like polishing up a recording if they want to. I know some bands have done that. I think Band-Maid have done that previously when they were touring the US prior to Epic Narratives, and you had things coming out like Memorable. However, in the case of Hanabie, I think Hanabie are one of those bands where their entire production ethic is very much and this is one of the reasons I love them. I know not everyone's into this kind of band, but I really like that sort of approach that Matsuri takes, where she is the kind of the central songwriter. I know everyone else has their piece, but she creates and crafts the songs, the styles, what they're going to go through, the way they're going to develop, picking the sounds. She kind of writes songs in a similar way to how I think a lot of Vocaloid writers write, just kind of on the laptop, I'm sure, putting together the ideas. And then, so I think the recording process would be extremely quick for them, because I imagine she's probably prepped most of the recording by doing on-computer demos and like lining up all of the sounds and she's probably got like 80% of the recording done before they even go into the studio. She's probably programmed in drum beats. She's probably programmed in like automated, not automated, but like representations, computer instrument copies of guitars and stuff. I would not be surprised if she's done all of that and she just takes them into the studio and it's like, all right, so how do you think you'd do that bass? How do you think you'd do that guitar? She does the guitar. How do you think you'll do that drum line? And then the members just sort of like bring it to life. So I would say that of all the bands who would be put off from recording new material because of touring, I don't think Hanabie would be one of them, if I'm honest with you. And you certainly don't stop writing when you're on tour. If anything, it gives you a lot more fuel a lot of the time. So I see where you're coming from that, but I suspect that touring would not have stopped them, if I'm entirely honest with you. Toyota says, I do love the EP, but as a fan who follows them closely, I felt like another single release rather than a project. Rather than the full project, just my selfish complaint. Well, technically speaking, you did get a new song. I mean, that's the thing, is that in doing this, they got a new song. This was actually the argument I made when Dux came out from Trident. It's like, well, Dux did have 2 new songs on it, and the base level copy of the album was like 1,500 yen, which is like less than £10 or $10. It was going really cheap. And so I think that the band were very aware of the fact that there's going to be some people who are just buying the album for those 2 new songs. There are things like when Dux came out, even though it was a full-length album, because there was only 2 songs that no one had ever heard on there before, they had at least one version of the album that was available for people who just wanted to pick up those 2 songs. Trident have always been, like I say, very good with their merchandising prices, so I'm not surprised about that, but it was a really interesting tactic. And so, for all the people who are complaining about, but we've heard all the songs before, I was like, wait, you might not like that it's an album, but you are still getting new music. You're just complaining that they're also re-releasing the old music, but still, you are still getting new music. So I would say in that case, you did get a new song. You also just got a new EP as well. Hot Jeff says, they wrote Spicy Queen on tour when one of the staff kept saying, I'm a Spicy King, so Matt Sweet changed it to Spicy Queen. That's probably the most basic inspiration for a song I've ever heard, but it'll do. It's a good song. And if it results in Yukino running around in a video set spitting literal flames, then why not? Michael says, album, Howard, it's more of an EP than a full-blown album, which Hanabie haven't done since Reborn Superstar. Yeah, but I mean, Michael, you know what I'm talking about. Yeah, as I've clarified throughout this, the mini albums, full-length albums, I can say mini album every time, but I assume once I've described that I'm talking about a mini album, I just assume that we all know the context I'm talking about. So yeah, I dropped the mini because I assumed that we were all clear that I said mini album once, and so I figured that kind of set the stage for what we were talking about there. So that's all. I think that all makes absolute sense. Let's see what you guys have been thinking in regards to the Band-Maid situation. Okay, so we're pretty much, no one thinks they've undersold, which is a really really good thing. No one thinks that they've overbooked, which is a really good thing. So cool. And no one's pet turtle can juggle wine corks, which is probably a fair and realistic answer. Less trolling in this chat than usual. I think overall it's for me it's a grand case of Band-Maid should be having a rather interesting little tour for themselves when they get on the road, and I think it's going to be amazing for so many people to see them. I was interested that there were some people who were saying, well, I was thinking, I'm from America, but I'm going to fly to the London gig. I'm like, dude, why? It's like, there's people in the UK who are like, I don't know, if you're doing that, then maybe explain to me, but I'm thinking there's people in the UK who haven't been able to see this band. Don't go and steal the tickets. It's only at 800. If an American person flies out there, gets a ticket, and as a result a person in the UK can't get the ticket, don't do that. Don't do that, man. No, please, folks, don't do that. I don't know. Is that just me? I just feel like everyone knows how important this European tour is. I did get one comment, and no disrespect to the person who posted this, because I think that I think they were being entirely honest, but they said something along the lines of, yeah, they were saying, oh, I'll probably fly to Europe to go to the thing. And they were saying, yeah, if I can pay this amount of money to fly to Europe, then I'm sure European fans can pay enough to go across the continent. And I was kind of thinking to myself, no, it's that, just because it's not a case of you're paying the money because you want to see them more. It's a case of you have that money. There's some people who literally do not have the money to go across the country, even by car. They literally cannot pay for the petrol. They cannot pay for the train. There's some people who literally can't make it. So yeah, there might be some people who say, I don't know, they live in fucking Hungary or something, and they desperately want to see Band-Maid, so they booked into one of the Germany gigs, and they're going to spend all the money they have traveling across country, across the borders to get into that Germany gig, maybe sleep in their car overnight or something. I don't know. There could be people doing that. And I would say, I don't know, this is going to sound really bad, but you can let me know what you think. But I would say European gigs, I hope it's only people from Europe going to them. Or, people maybe people from another continent that isn't getting a European gig. Yeah. If you're coming up from like Morocco or somewhere, obviously, yeah, that's fine. But I hope it's only people who aren't getting a tour in their own part of the world who actually go to that. Michael says, we love Ducks, even though you bitched about the artwork. I did bitch about the artwork. Look, Trident, I've said it before, one of my all-time favourite bands. Definitely a top 3 for me. Definitely in my top 3 bands of all time. I adore Trident. They, I listen to them as much as any other artist. Absolutely love Trident. Their music is amazing. They are amongst the best musicians out there. Their songwriter is incredible. Their ethic is brilliant. I just love the band. However, their album covers, I feel like they're trying to keep themselves secret. I feel like, they respect their fans. Massive cope here. I feel like they respect their fans so much that they want to keep it just to their fans. They don't want to just let any old riffraff in. So they have to find a way of putting a bouncer on the door, putting people off just coming across them randomly. And that's why the album covers. Make it look like the album cover is not very imaginative, maybe AI generated. Make it look... Make the album cover look bad, then we'll never... No, they're not bad. It's just like their album covers. I've said this before. If you want a description of a Trident album cover, it basically looks like someone just finally got the access to the premium version of Photoshop and had 15 minutes to put together an album cover. So they quickly went through all the filters and started slapping buttons and released the first thing they got. I love this band, but man, I wish they had more epic album covers. So should I go to Germany 3 shows? Actually, do you know what? Hot Jeff, I'm really bad at remembering where people are from. Where are you from, dude? Let me know. I'm really bad at remembering. The problem is sometimes I'll think I'll remember and I'll say, oh, you're from here, and then it turns out, no, you're not. And then I'll just make myself look like an idiot. But you're not from Europe, though, are you, Hot Jeff? I seem to remember you're from North America, but I think you're from Canada, but then I'm probably getting you confused with... Oh, man. Yeah, see, now I've said it, you're just going to be angry because you're going to tell me I'm wrong. Loon says, I'm here! Chat finally loaded. Oh, dude, I'm really sorry I heard about Loon having all the problems with chat, so thank you for making it, dude. I really respect that. Hope you've been enjoying the waffle so far, at very least. So, another question is whether they should stop in Korea, Singapore, Malaysia, Australia. I think they should... I think Australia is probably not going to be profitable for them, but I think they should do it because there's a lot of people in Australia and there's a lot of people who are really into rock music. I think it's one of those ones where it's what they call a loss leader. I think you would make the financial loss because it would be worth it in merchandise sales. I think you would make it back in merchandise sales. It's one of those ones where, people in Australia, it's not like Europe, and no disrespect to Australia, I mean this actually with a lot of love, but in Europe, there's a certain degree that, okay, people know there's a difference between Europe and the US, but people in Europe generally know that bands will come to them. They see Japanese bands coming all the time. So if you just don't turn up, then people are going to notice. Because all the other bands will be turning up. But in Australia as a general band, people kind of know that a lot of the bands don't come there. Because, for a start, it's a huge landmass. Playing on one side of Australia and playing on the other side of Australia is like playing on 2 different continents in of itself. So, you could argue if you play in Australia, kind of damned if you do, damned if you don't, because where do you play? Sydney, Melbourne, it's a lot of moving around to do. But I think it's a lost leader, because if you play there once And then, even put it out in the press thing. It's like, we can't afford to come here regularly, but we've always wanted to play in Australia. So next year we're going to play in Australia. Please come along because we don't know how often we can do this and we really want to see you. Do that. You will get a lot of people turn up. And even if you don't, well, I think you'll easily make back the flight money. But even if you're not making a lot of money, it will be worth it because down the line you will have made a lot of people really like you and you'll get money from that. When it comes to Singapore and Malaysia, Singapore again, yeah, probably worth doing. Malaysia, or if you go to Singapore, if you do Malaysia or Singapore, you might as well do both. So I think those are kind of worth doing. Korea as well. I think Korea is a difficult one because it's always hard to judge that scene. But I think it's worth doing just because it's so close. Why not? Yeah, all of these places, I would say just do them anyway, especially if they're like in, Australia, like I say, is quite a different distance. But when it comes to Singapore, Malaysia, they're not too far. Taiwan and Korea, obviously Taiwan's got its own set of tensions at the moment, which is a real shame. But for Taiwan and Korea, I feel like you kind of almost have to do those ones because they're so close. And, there's a lot of people who love Japanese music in both of those locations. So why the hell not? Yeah, I would say you kind of should do those too, but again, that's my opinion. They're also, it should be pointed out that Band-Maid as a general is one of those bands where I feel like their sound probably has more of an appeal to a Western audience. So I wonder if that's something they factored in. Maybe some people say, oh, well, they know who buys their merch. I don't think that's necessarily the entire way you measure where your best possibility of booking decent gigs is. But because you also want to think about what potential fans you have, not just the fans who are buying merch already. And of course, there's a lot of factors in there. But I think bands like Band-Maid, I don't think their sound is inherently the sort of thing that is 100% going to be successful in places like Singapore, Korea, Malaysia. It probably will do okay, but I don't know that. But of course, in Western countries, Band-Maid's music is a really good mixture of, it's Western enough that anyone who's into Western rock could easily get into it, but it's Japanese enough that it gives Western fans something they've never had before. Whereas in Asia, I do wonder whether it may be, so you look at bands like Silent Siren and it's the absolute opposite. Like Silent Siren's sound just wouldn't really work with a Western audience. Yes, people would come out, but it wouldn't be a huge thing. But when they tour to places like Thailand, and I think they've done Indonesia and Malaysia, they always do really well because in Asia, their sound is much more, I think, it's something that people more eat up. That's my feeling on it. But of course, that's the sort of thing where your markets change and you can be proved all wrong on this kind of thing. So D Roberts says, I saw Hanabie 4 times on last UK tour. Does that make me a am I stopping someone else getting a ticket? We all have an equal chance to buy tickets. No, as I said, I was not saying that about Hanabie. I felt I made it clear. I don't know if you're joking. I was saying that about Band-Maid specifically because of the issue that Band-Maid's tour is in venues that are very small and they haven't been there for many, many years and they're going on hiatus directly afterwards. So this is something where, there's a very narrow number of opportunities. With Hanabie are touring all the time, so no, I don't think that's an issue. I can't see that being an issue because even if someone can't see Hanabie on this tour, they'll be back next year. They'll probably be back at the same year. Hanabie, they don't stop. So yeah, I don't think so. Oddjo says UK, Nottingham. Wish I knew what that was in response to. Loon says, I don't think Band-Maid will add more dates. I think this tour is token gesture and they'll go back to focusing on Japan and US on their return 2028. I don't know. I think that's a possibility. That's one of those areas where I don't mind talking about like what they're likely to do. I don't like to assume a band's intentions because we never know that kind of thing. That's where it can be difficult conjecture. So I'm not going to assume their intentions. I'm more interested in what I think they would do as a simple response, whether you think it's more a case of they haven't left themselves room for this, or simply that it just doesn't seem like something, because I know some people have mentioned that Band-Maid have actually expressed a certain degree of tour fatigue previously, which is interesting for a group who very much preaches the gospel of world domination. Michael says, granted there are fans, but yeah, I see your point. There are fans who attend every conceivable show, however, but I tend to wait for bands to pass through my neck of the woods rather than fly all over the place. Again, that's a choice. Sorry, I should probably correct. I don't I don't think it's wrong for people to fly out to see the bands they love. As I say, I'm just specifically talking about the Band-Maid scenario because the Band-Maid scenario is very unique. You know, it's been years since they've last been there. They've already said they're going on hiatus after this tour, and so it makes it at least another year before they go there again, you know, another couple of years before they go again. And furthermore is the fact that, you know, they have already announced venues which are suspiciously small. So, yeah, that's what I'm specifically talking about this, not about other gigs. Although I think even with them, there's a certain degree of, I would always be a little bit thoughtful of those kind of things. But, you know, if a band's likely to come to a place again, then, or if the venues are decently sized, then I wouldn't begrudge anyone that. It's just this is a very unique scenario. Michael says Australia isn't as far from Japan in terms of flight time as you think, Howard. Michael, you don't know what I think the flight time is. How would you say that? Yeah, no, I know what the flight times are like. I know it's. I mean, how long's a piece of string compared to what? I'm not saying it's like an impossibly long period of time. I'm just saying it's not like going to Taiwan. You know, it's not like it's right on the doorstep. It does require a certain degree of distance. It's not something, you know, if you fly across Australia, it's going to take you more than an hour. You know, it's not like touring to the next town. It's flying across an extremely large landmass. So yeah, no, I'm aware that it's not like flying to Europe. I'm just saying, as it is a singular country and they might have questions about how many people will turn up or what size venue they can get, I can understand why bands are a little bit more cautious. That's all I'm saying. And it's going to be harder to make a profit because if you go between two different cities, that again, it's not like going to the next town. It is a significant cross-country kind of thing. So yeah, that's what I mean, Michael. Hot Jeff, I'm from the UK, not England. Oh, thank you, Hot Jeff. Yeah, for some reason I was like, where is he? I was thinking you were from Canada, but I think I'm getting you confused with Fernando now. This is the problem. I'm really bad at remembering this kind of thing, dude. See, now you just embarrass me. I hope not, Loon, says Wandering Souls. I can't see what else to. That's all right, you're talking to each other. Loon says, judging by them only doing one night in a 1K venue, they clearly don't think they have much support, so why bother coming back to more venues? No, again, I mean, I don't know, but as I say, it's logically consistent that bands will tend to, especially if it's been a long time since they were last there, they're going to book venues that are smaller than they need to just to see. And then it would make more logical sense to give yourself room to book another one, exactly like Love Bites did. I mean, Love Bites went a little bit extreme booking the bloody New Cross Inn, but you know, I can completely understand why a band, it's logically, it makes sense to book a venue that's too small and give yourself time to book another venue. It would require more explanation for me why you would do the opposite. But that's my opinion. Again, I could be wrong, but I think that makes a... Jana Banana is here, Jana Banana. Hello. Oh, I don't know if Jana's been keeping up with all the drama on this channel, but bless you for coming in and saying hello every now and then. It's been dramatic times. I miss you, Jana. I miss you. Wandering Souls, depending on those fast, those small. Yeah, exactly. How fast they set out. You read it here first. It always feels to me that Band-Maid, at least since 2020, has very conservative management. I don't know. That's a hard one. Again, management is very hard to... I mean, it's really... as I said, it always makes me kind of giggle when people say, oh, well, now Band-Maid have got their own management. Everything's going to change. It's like, yeah, that's not how that works. And as I keep on reminding people, as I'm sure you know, it's like, it's not actually... It's mostly the same people they had before. They just kind of like, you know, put it under their own... consolidated it into their own company. But yeah, there's so many factors that go into these kind of decisions, and you know, a lot of the time people like to say, "Oh, it's the management." It could just genuinely be the band. I mean, again, I don't like to assume motives behind these things because we don't know. We really don't know. But just as likely as it is that the band and I'm not saying you're saying this, but just as likely as it is that the band are being restrained from doing what they want by management who are too conservative, if we're willing to believe that, we also have to believe that maybe the band are just like, "Oh, we don't like touring." I know people are going to smash dislike for me saying that, but I'm just saying what you don't know, you don't know. So, I am definitely not from. Wait, he said the thing. He said that you're definitely not from.
東京渋谷ミルキーウェイ
I'm so glad that that file is still on my computer.
東京渋谷ミルキーウェイ
By the way, I was homesick. So I got what I needed to feel less homesick, but Korean style. Oh god, I just realised how noisy these are to eat. Oh god, this was not a good decision at all. I regretted it the minute I did it, although it does taste good. Let's have a look here. Yan! I'm not going to lie, I'm a little disappointed that the Maids are only playing a single mid-sized venue in the UK. I was hoping that would at least do London and Edinburgh so we could make Loon go. Do you know what? I love Loon. Loon is Loon though. He would turn up in person and he would complain. He's a troll for life. I believe him. But yeah, I think when it comes to the UK, I wanted to say it's a little bit disappointing. But the fact it's the last tour date and the fact there's that suspicious 1 month afterwards in which they could potentially book more tickets and more venues. Sorry, to get more tickets. I feel I don't know. I just feel it in my bones that they're going to book another one. I feel the minute they see how quick it sells out, which I believe will be very fast, I think they'll go, all right, we're good. Let's I think they've already kind of got it planned. That would be my guess. They already got it planned, and they just need to make the phone call. So everything sells out in like a few days, and they go, all right, make the call. Let's get that other one that we were thinking of doing, and then book it. It says, judging by the average age of the crowd of the last Band-Maid show in London, they might have thought the fan base might have died in the last 7 years. Harsh. Miss you too. I miss you, Jana. Yeah, it's been. I mean, I won't bore you all with details right now, but the fact that I'm holding a Korean box and I lose the roof above my head in a few days. Although, actually, wait. I did the big announcement stream on Twitch. Was since the last YouTube stream, so I should probably actually put this in. I'll probably tell you this right now. A lot of you will already know this, but I'm going to say this anyway. So I was contacted by the company who had made that job and visa offer to me. And yeah, so stop me if I've already told you this. I can't remember. I think it was since the last YouTube stream. So I'm saying this for anyone who hasn't seen this. They've put forward, because it had been so long that I was starting to think, nah, they've changed their mind. And they even started their email to me by saying, apologies, if you've changed your mind, we understand. But they said, look, here's our offer. And they put forward a offer. I haven't had the contract delivered to me yet, but I've been told it's going to arrive early next week. And so as it's the early hours of Monday right now, I'm hoping that in a few hours we get into that point where I might receive the contract. But given how everything's progressed so far, it might take a couple of days. But still, they've proposed a contract, and the amount of money they're proposing to pay me, it wouldn't be, to most people in the West, it wouldn't be like, oh, that's a huge amount of money. But considering what money's worth in Japan, and considering how good I am at living off of nothing, as you guys know, and considering that I'm not exactly a very materialist kind of person, it's the kind of money where it's way more than I could ever need. So I was saying that it's a 2-month probation, then they start the visa process. So, and the visa process can take up to 3 months. So if everything goes well, it is not impossible that I could be back in Japan at the very earliest, I'd say May, but at latest, maybe August. Right in time to boil to death in the heat. So it's not impossible. So basically, I'm just trying to find a way of surviving here until then. If I start working this month in February, then my first pay pack will almost certainly come at the end of March. So I've got to just survive for 2 months, and doing the job without a roof above my head is going to be very difficult. So I've been talking to people like James about doing like a temporary loan off of him. Shred Dog from the Shred Dog channel, he's going to be staying in Casa Cardboard while I'm away, and he's going to chuck me some money for that, which will help to cover things. So hopefully at the end of March I'll start getting a decent amount of money. But as I said before, I am going to, when I get that money, it's way more than I need to pay for accommodation, so I'll easily be able to pay rent, which That's why I don't want to count on my chickens before they hatch, because this could all go wrong. It's a 2-month probation. They could say at the end, "Oh, we've decided no," or "Yeah, we haven't got money to get any new employees. So thank you for the 2 months, but we're going to cancel the contract." Or it could be any number of things. I might not get the visa because they decide they don't want to do that. It could be any number of things happen. But if we take the best case scenario, which at least looks like it's a 50-50 at this time, if that did work out, then as I say, I would pay for the rent. Beautiful. I'd maybe even pay some in advance. Most of the money would go into savings because I want to have a buffer. So next time there's a big drama in my life, I don't have to lean on anyone else. And then, as I said, I'm going to put a small amount of the money aside in which it's going to be. So like I said, every day when I walk around in Japan and I see things in Japan, I see like something and I think, oh, Yiv would really like that, or Loon would really like that, or Harry would really like that, or and I see these things and I want to be able to, instead of what I have to do at the moment, which is like maybe I buy it, maybe I ask you to send me some money, then I have to put it in a cupboard and wait until I got money to post it, but then maybe maybe I haven't got time to post it, or maybe there's a problem. It'll be something where instead I'll just have like a little amount of money that I'll keep to one side at all times. And, just occasionally top it up, and I'll just be able to grab some things and go, oh, someone from the community, I know they'll really like that. Grab it, buy it, and then just go straight to the nearest post office, slap it in an envelope, send it off to them. That's the kind of thing I want to be able to do, because buying, and that sounds so cheesy, buying stuff for myself has never made me happy. I just feel universally guilty. The only time I like buying things is when I get like a massively good deal, like when I bought that GoPro for 3,000 yen. Best purchase ever. Thanks, James, for being with me when I did that, because we were looking at each other like, is this for real? But yeah, I mean, buying stuff for me doesn't make me happy, and I'm not just being cheesy, that's just true. I much rather get stuff for other people. So even if I'm not exactly the world's most reliable person with these things, I always sort of put in the effort, and I get there eventually. You guys know this, even when I make something a little bit too slow, which is most of the time, I get there in the end. So I want to do that so that I can feel happy that I'll be able to do these things much quicker, because I won't have to worry about, if I send this, I don't have money for food or something like that. It would be nice just to have like a savings for me for emergencies, a little savings for people in the community, so I can give you guys something back for all the support you've shown me for all these years, and obviously pay the damn rent. Oh man. All right, let's read through some of these comments. It's already 1:40. I've been talking constantly. I would love to get a word count on this stream and see how many words are actually spoken in this stream, because I swear to God, this. So I'm gonna have some more caramel. Yay! There's a lot of comments. Actually, let me read them real quick. Oh wow. Oh my God. Oh my God, so many comments. All right, here we go. Well, the UK has at least one show before you drive to another country. Yeah. Yeah, that is true. Although, in all fairness, when you're in mainland Europe, I don't know, there's the Channel Tunnel, but basically in mainland Europe, it is easier to drive from one country to another. It's not saying it's easy, it's massive distances and huge petrol costs, but it's at least there is that option. No shortage of live venues in Melbourne, but they do vary in size and capacity. Aren't Stylish clusters as your favourite live house scene? Yeah, no, I get that. I mean, I do wonder, for example, if you like just did a bunch of venues in Melbourne, though, you might get like people in like Sydney or Brisbane or whatever. So just like, wait a minute. So it's like then you're like, well, do I have to do multiple gigs in every city in Australia, every major city in Australia? I mean, if they were going to do it, they'd probably do one in a couple of cities or something like that, I think. But yeah, the kind adults, etc. What's that in response to? I'm not sure what that's in response to. Sorry. Loon says, that's Yan to Loon. That's Michael to Loon. D. Roberts says, I thought Band-Maid would have played maybe 3 UK gigs, Glasgow, Manchester, London, smaller venues, or one super London gig, maybe Brixton Academy. Yeah, to be honest, I'm not overly surprised. I think it would have been nice for them to do like Edinburgh or Glasgow and London, but considering that they're only doing Germany and France, I think it would be a bit much to expect them to do multiple ones in the UK, because I know it's expensive to travel from Scotland to London. I totally understand that. But it's still not quite as bad as traveling from like Portugal to France. I mean, so I throw it out there like that. But yeah, I think I actually agreed. The Brixton Academy was the one I was thinking of as well. I'm really surprised that the Brixton Academy wasn't the one they did, but a lot of overseas bands do O2 Islington, so good connections. That's to Jan. Still playing musical chairs with your current living arrangements. I mean, yeah, Michael. I mean, again, at the moment, at best I will have money at the end of March, but at the moment I literally don't have anything except for enough to buy these, which were like 80 yen. I got food in the fridge. That's the main thing. But in a couple of days, this all runs out. And I've said that the last couple of weeks, but each time I've been very fortunate to have some kind of lucky break or manage to make it work. So as I say, there is a good possibility that maybe I'll get an extension on here. I have to talk to James about that. We've had a short conversation, but we're going through the paperwork, trying to work it out. So maybe I'll be fine. But I don't count my chickens before they're hatched. I will say I feel good about it, but let's see. I might not be able to do live stream next week, but I will be clear with you guys and I'll keep you up to date. So as long as you know that. Congrats, sis Janet. Thank you. I really appreciate that. I really hope it goes the right way, but again, just not counting my chickens before they're hatched. And I hope you're okay as well, Jana. I'm sorry it's been so long since we chatted, but yeah, out on my ass in a pretty extreme way. Torres says, that's awesome. Thank you. Jan says, good news. Cheers, dude. I really appreciate it. And you know what's really nice is like so many of the bands have been like, so many of the bands back in Japan have been like really supportive. I've been getting supportive messages from bands, from band members, people who are really, want me to do well. And that kind of touches you quite a lot when they want you to keep going and they want you to be back. And yeah, that meant a lot to me. That really meant a lot to me. Yeah, because there are some times where you're just like, it really does feel like too much. So when you get those kind of messages, it just kind of reminds you what you're fighting for. So yeah, a lot of the bands are excited to see me back, and just that is such a wonderful feeling when like bands actually were like, oh, well, we can't wait to see you, come back, come have a drink with us, I love that. And considering the number of bands who've asked me to come have a drink with them, actually, I'm probably going to end up having like a really sloshed alcoholic first week. Oh god, I'm off the sauce now. So Loon says, so glad the job came through. I have no doubt the probation will go swimmingly and you'll be back home in no time. Yeah, you're a gentleman, Loon. I really appreciate that. I mean, you know me. I mean, you remember when I moved into the apartment? I said this before. I moved into the apartment and I literally didn't buy furniture for, I think it was like 2 months. I lived just with cardboard boxes because I wasn't confident the place was. I was like, what's the point in buying furniture? It's just one more thing I have to throw away when I get kicked out of here. So yeah, that's kind of like, that was my mentality for the longest time. I'm just like, you come from that mentality where nothing's ever permanent, and it does kind of make you, it's not a sob story, it's just true. You just kind of like, that's the way you look at the world. So, yeah, it's the idea that there could be something like this, which I can come back to and that can be good. And I've worked out how I'll be able to keep it, because I'm not going to give up the channel, I'm not going to give up the music, I'm not going to give up any of that stuff, but I've worked out a way of hopefully making it, there's certain things about this job that will save me time on other things I have to do. I mean, apart from anything else, the money will save me a lot because I'll be able to do my shopping in a more concise way in larger bulk, which will save me time constantly going to the shops. I won't have to do contract work so much anymore. And those contract works, I had to travel to them. That's a few hours every week that you're doing just getting on a train and traveling out to like a dachi or something. That time will get saved. So there will be a lot of little areas in which I'll save time, which will hopefully mean that the amount of work I have to put into the job won't actually be quite as damaging to my ability to do everything else as possible. Plus, the confidence. When you have money, I don't want to sound like someone who wallows, because I don't like that and I wouldn't want to be that person. But when you have money and you have like security, you wake up every day with just a little bit more confidence. You are more confident to say, right, I'm going to go home, I'm going to work on some channel stuff right now. You're going to eat a little bit more healthy. I always try to eat healthy, but you're going to eat a little bit more healthy because you're going to be that little bit more energized. And I think if anyone would ever appreciate these things, it would be me, because as I say, I know what it's like to get by without these things. So, if I have these things, I will appreciate them. And I think I will be, just for the sake of having this opportunity, I think I will be more appreciative of it than 99.9% of other people probably would be. So yeah, I will make every single opportunity count, and I'll be I think I'll also be just in a really good mood. I'll probably be tired as hell, but I'll be in a really good mood. So you have my word that if this comes through, I will make this opportunity work, and I will be, yeah, but who knows. It's also a big hope of mine that if everything goes well, I guess one of the things I would want to spend money on is because you guys know I was really sad that for my 40th birthday I wasn't able to organise a show. I really wanted to do a gig on my 40th birthday, couldn't do it. Well, this year I fucking well will. If this goes through, then you goddamn right that you guarantee that on my 41st birthday, and then definitely for my 42nd birthday, meaning of life after all. So you know it. Surely Brixton Academy is slightly larger than some those O2 venues. I think it is. Yeah. So it's a good venue anyway. It's a better venue than O2 Islington. I think most people would agree on that. Tell them you won a Grammy Award for Keep Going. But then they'll actually see the thing and they'll be like, what? Nah, I was already proud of that one, but thank you. Do you know what, actually, I will say this. When I went, they for the job, they needed in the interview to see proof of media I'd produced, and Keep Going was one of the pieces of evidence I put forward for my ability to edit. I was like, look, I know this is different from the sort of work we're going to be doing in promotion, but I was like, this is a demonstration of how I understand how to present things. And that was actually one of the things that got me the job, actually. So, that's what I mean. Like, a lot of this work, it has a tangible benefit. First thing to buy when you get home is a fridge. Yeah, that is true. I've kind of thought I am going to buy a fridge and a freezer because it will save me money. But I'm not going to buy like a washing machine because I've done the calculation, and what I do at the moment, washing my clothes in the bathtub, it's a little bit more messy, but it's actually, the clothes are cleaner as a general. It's more gentle on them, so the print doesn't get damaged as much. It smells nice because I got like loads of surplus washing up liquid. So I've got really good smelling stuff. It's great, and it doesn't cost me a penny. It just costs enough, just however much money it costs to shallow fill the bathtub. So yeah, I'm not going to buy that, but I will buy a fridge freezer. Sounds like my bro Shred Dog is chipping in a bit. Yeah, no, Shred Dog's a good mate. He's a good mate. He's a good friend. I think he's doing his diary videos at the moment, and one of them coming up soon will probably be him talking about what a terrible person I am. He's genuinely lovely. We didn't record anything together when we was in Japan, but I think just neither of us felt like it. We just wanted to hang out, and we were like, look, we know the YouTuber-y thing to do would be sit down and do like an interview together, but we were just like, I just want to hang out. We're having fun. I wanted to take him to a show, and it was just like, let's just do that. So we did that, and we got on really well. I just think that was nice. That's why I liked it. He just came across really genuine again, really good dude. Him and John, really lovely people. Don't worry, Howard, we will not see you not having food. I got my caramel. Yeah, most O2 venues seem to be around 1,000 too. I don't think you meant to write 15,000, did you? Oh no, you did, 15,000. Whereas Brixton Academy is nearly 5,000. Yeah, 5,000 is a good size. I can't remember what the what's the O2 venue down towards White City in that direction out in the west. Can't remember what that one is. Oh, I might be thinking of a different venue actually. Apologies. Yeah, I'm thinking of the wrong venue. Oh well, don't worry. I mean, you've got things like you've got the Indigo 2 in the Dome. I can't remember what the capacity on that is, but that's a few thousand in there. That'd be interesting. Also, when Band-Maid toured Australia in 2023, they only played standalone, not multiple dates in 3 cities. With Melbourne, my hometown, being one of the stops. Yeah, I think that's the way that most bands would do it. I think that's the way Band-Maid would do it if they did it as well. And good on you for being in Melbourne. I would love to know what a nightmare it's going to be going around Albert Park in the next month. No, March. Jerome says, just to clear up my previous comment, in their news, Party Miku mentioned that she'd post more on SM, but there being restraints trained by the advisors, translators, kind adults. So I'm going to swallow that before I reply. Miku mentioned they would post more on social media like SNS, but have been restrained by their advisors, translated as kind adults. Right, yeah, okay. So that's what managers actually kind of do, is go, don't talk about that yet. They're the kind of people who'd be saying things like when we had the hiatus announcement, they were like, don't talk about the hiatus until 6 p.m. Yeah. That's more like that's more the sort of thing I believe managers actually do. So yeah, the person who told the kind adults, I'm pretty sure if you read the roster of people who work at Made It, which is available, that's the kind adults, I'm pretty sure. Maybe the record company as well. Actually, might be some folks from down a Pony Canyon. Congratulations on my new job, Jerome. Thank you so much. Well, I mean, still haven't signed the contract, but they said the contract's coming to me in the next couple of days, and it at least assures me 2 months. And I'll be honest with you, 2 months' pay at this job would be enough to pay 6 months' rent. That's what I'm talking about. That is a lot of money. So, that's wild. So if I sign this contract, I'm kind of guaranteed at least 2 months' work, which means I'm at least guaranteed 6 months' worth of rent. So whatever happens, that's great. But obviously what I really want is I want the visa, I want to work for them permanently, and I want everything to go well. So fingers crossed. Have you said what the job is? I don't remember it being, although that could be deliberate. Yeah, there's certain aspects of the job that I'm not allowed to talk about because I'm working for the secret branch of the government. It's to do with so I mentioned this briefly before. So if anyone who remembers me saying, the job basically is to do with promoting Japanese culture to the rest of the world via media, via events. Kind of what I do with the channel, but more broadly Japanese culture, the Japanese tourist, not tourist board, but the culture board. You know how like when they have these Japan culture events in other countries, a lot of it is taking Japanese businesses and getting those Japanese businesses to sell their stuff to overseas people, to overseas investors, to get interest, to get like customers, and to promote the things that are being made in Japan, and that's a big part of it. Getting things that are being made in Japan, getting things that are Japanese culture, and introducing the rest of the world to them. Helping these companies connect to the rest of the world, helping these companies produce media and like campaigns and stuff online to get people excited to understand what these things are and why they could be special. To that, basically. What was the job again? Thank you, Michael. Yeah, covered it. Hey, Jeff, how you doing? So now we got Cool Jeff to join Hot Jeff. I was just charged for the Patreon. Thank you for letting me know, dude. Much appreciated. Much appreciated. I hope everything's all right. I know you've had all kinds of muddled stuff going on with the card there. All completely, obviously, not your fault. So I'm glad everything's going all right. Let me know if anything about that was not as you expected, or if there's anything you want me to check or any problems. Let me know. Usually Patreon doesn't have a huge amount of controls on my side, but I can definitely look into anything. But if that's all okay with you, thank you for letting me know. I'll double check. Tune says, hi, I'll join now. Well, hello. We are coming into the last couple of minutes, but thank you anyway. We'll be going over to Twitch in a minute, but thank you for joining us anyway. This should all be available for you to watch afterwards anyway. Michael says, Shred Dog doesn't shade anybody, Howard. Surely the name applies to John Reeves. Yeah, well, I mean, you guys know I'm friends with John Reeves, so I just call him John now. We literally do a monthly show together, so it's like I think most people know when I'm talking about John, which shot I'm talking about. Yeah, but yeah, no, Shred Dog's just cool, dude. It's funny because we were going to for months we were like, oh, we should do something together. But we are literally time zones aside, we are literally never available at the same time. In a standard week, we have no crossover in time, none. So we just were never able to have a conversation like online. It was always just like I send a message, he sends a message back. That was it. So when he said he was coming to Japan, I was like, oh, we've got to meet up. And then when he was in Japan, he's like, oh, I'm going to come back in March of next year. I was like, well, do you need somewhere to stay? Because I could use a little bit of money. So I did him a deal which was significantly cheaper than any hotel, but in exchange he gets like a proper place to stay. So O2 Islington, right next to King's Cross train station. Yep, that's the one. Yeah. Yeah, that's not the one I was talking about when I was talking about the one in Western London. But O2 Islington is the O2 Islington I was thinking about originally, which is not a great venue if I'm honest. But it doesn't matter. It's a music venue, and the main thing is it's small, so you'll be close. But yeah, yes, Michael, I know exactly where it takes place. I shall be watching it as always. But yeah. So. It's terrible, isn't it? I feel bad for people from Melbourne when I say this, but that's the one thing I know most all about Melbourne. I could walk you around every inch of Albert Park, but I tell you what, I don't know much else about the city. It'd be really amusing if I ever visited Melbourne and I like met a person from Melbourne. They could like show me everything, but the minute I get to like Albert Park, suddenly I'm gonna know exactly where I am. It's really weird. Do you have to sign in front of attorney and notarize it with a contract? No, that's not something that really happens so much in Japan. That's a very different type of contract. Those kind of contracts are, work contracts are usually not done in that way. Obviously, there'll be a legal team involved, but there'll be HR legal involved. But that's not the way that contracts usually work for employment in Japan. Like things to do with attorneys, they're more like one-time agreement kind of things, or more. I don't know what the phrasing would be, but abnormal circumstance kind of contracts where you would do that kind of in person in front of the attorney kind of thing. Like agreements of some kind. Well, I guess any contract's an agreement, but you know what I mean. No, this is just a normal work contract. They just send it to me. I sign it and send it back. And he says, I just got out of the supermarket. Will get onto Twitch as soon as I can. Haven't sent my pics through either. You terrible, terrible man. Nah, look, all right, so it's 2 o'clock now, so we're going to go over onto Twitch. It's been really fun. I'm enjoying this. It's been fun. Again, I didn't get as much. It's not like last week when I was literally sleeping until a couple of hours before a stream, I think it was. But it's been another one of those days where I've been effectively nocturnal. So I was asleep until, I think I went to sleep at 1 p.m. and then I woke up at 6 p.m. And now it's 2 a.m. So I've been awake about 8 hours. So I've got plenty of energy right now, which is good. But I do have a lot of work to do, so we'll run this one through as always. The next reaction video comes out in 3 hours from now, so I haven't done the thumbnail for that yet. Actually. I've got to sort that out as well. But anyway, cool, Jeff. Isn't King's Cross where the channeled train to Paris stops? King's Cross and Pancras, yeah. It's convenient to see both shows and maybe on the train with Band-Maid. Yeah, that's actually quite funny. I like that. All right, okay, guys. So I'm going to pop over, going to start getting ready for Twitch. As always, give me like 10 or 15 minutes to sort it out. Then we'll get over there. If you are a patron, then bang your songs into the DMs while you still got a chance. We've been a little low on songs the last couple of weeks, so I hope everyone remembers to send theirs in. And if you're a patron, even if you're not really sure what to pick, just pick an old favourite. Sometimes that's fine. Pick something you want us to hear, and let's enjoy it together. Thanks, Howard. Take care. Speaking. Take care. Speak English. Cheeky bastard. Oh, dear. Let's find it. Where is it? Oh, wait. I think it's on the other camera. Oh, no. Wait. Oh, there we go. Where is it? Where is it? Is that? Yeah, there. I hope this is still. I'm going to press the button, and if it's not on the hard drive, it won't come up. Let's see if it comes up. No! Wait. No. It didn't come up. No. Wait. I can make it happen. The English meme has to be here. The English meme cannot have gone. There we go. I found it. Are you ready? Are you all ready for some profanity? Let's go.
English, motherfucker! Do you speak it?
Oh man, absolute pleasure as always. So I've got to really sort out the all the media, because after I've been doing so much editing, as you guys know, I'm editing a music video, I'm editing a couple of songs for artists, I am editing band broadcast videos, I am really staying in touch with a lot of Japanese artists through working with them right now. So I've had to free up so much hard drive room for all the stuff I'm currently editing, and as a result I had to move a lot of stuff out of my normal folders into an online backup. And that meant that I moved maybe more than I should have done. Anyway, let's just read the last couple of comments, and then I'm going to be out and getting ready for the Twitch. Thanks, Howard. Take care. Hey, do not angry. We'll do that one last. Don't worry. Oh man. No stealing Brits tickets, Jeff. You naughty American. And speak it. Nice. All right, let's do it. All right, remember to do not angry, folks, and then we'll see our way out.
Do not angry! What? You! Oh! Do not go angry, okay? Yeah! Don't angry! Fuck yeah!
Do you know what I've realised? Because we've done that meme so many times, I wonder how many of you who don't speak a word of Japanese probably now just by proxy know how to say "I will kill you" in Japanese because it keeps on coming up on every time we have that meme. Anyway, guys, look, thank you so much. Let's get the bog roll out. Time to... Oh, no, I forgot the bog roll isn't on here, is it? Because that's another thing that I backed up. Damn it. Wait, I can fix this. I can fix this. Hold up a minute. Wait, no, that's not the right button. I need to go to the website where I got it from. Toilet roll. Okay. Video. Where is it? No, that's not what I want. That's weird. Ah, there it is. All right, so I've got to click on that. I've got to download the toilet roll video. There we go. It's downloading. Give it a moment, folks. Right, good. Now we take that and move that over here and put it into the channel folder. Put it in this thing. Judge bye and copy it over, and then ta-da! Yeah, it's here, folks. The toilet roll, it has cometh. Oh man, good times, hey everyone, good times. It's we've got to set it to repeat forever though. Where is it? Loop forever, because it is infinite toilet roll. All right, guys, so that will now loop forever. Well, it would do, except for I'm going to finish this stream now so I can go over, see you guys over on Twitch. Thank you so much for tuning in as always. You guys are amazing. Do not angry. Buy Twitch, no good for me. Buy being good. Well, it's sad to say goodbye, but dude, good to speak to you. Thank you to everyone who's been on here. Much appreciated. I'll see you very soon. This was a good fun stream. And until I hopefully see you very soon in Japan for the next one of these, or in Korea as it currently is. Let's see. Yeah, it went again. For now. Ciao, ciao.
東京渋谷ミルキーウェイ